If you take a look at pretty much any preseason poll for the 2023 season, you will see that the Florida State Seminoles are probably in that poll, and they are receiving more hype than they've had in a long time. Ever since Mike Norvell took over, people have been optimistic that he could get Florida State back to their old glory days, and after a tremendous 2022 season, the Seminoles are currently on fire, and they are recruiting at an elite level. A couple days ago, we saw just how far Florida State has come, as Mike Norvell went into Kirby Smart's backyard and flipped a 5-star recruit who had been committed to the Bulldogs for over a year. This guy is not only one of the best players in the class of 2024, but he'll be a foundational piece for Florida State, and this shows that Florida State football is surging and is hopefully here to stay. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Landen Thomas. We're going to go through who he is, what he means to Florida State, and how the Seminoles have gotten back on track. But before we get started, quickly be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let me know what player, topic, team, or situation I could cover next. So going back in time, Landen Thomas grew up in Georgia, and he actually was a Miami Hurricanes fan as a child, but pretty quickly, he was noticeable on the football field for someone who had an insane future in the sport. He eventually arrived at Colquitt County High School in Moultrie, Georgia, and scouts from all around the country noticed his potential right away. As a sophomore, Thomas would blow up onto the national radar as schools such as Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, Ohio State, and Michigan all sent him an offer and made him an early priority for the 2024 class. In 11 games during his sophomore season, he had 31 catches for 516 yards and 7 touchdowns, but it was his potential that had everyone talking about him. He decided to commit pretty early, as in April of 2021, he decided to go to Florida State. This was a huge early get for Mike Norvell, who had taken over in 2020 and was desperately trying to get FSU back on track. Sadly for the Noles though, Georgia did not give up him on an unofficial visit, and this eventually got him thinking about Athens, which is why he decided to decommit later in 2021. Kirby Smart got a hold of him, and eventually Thomas chose the Bulldogs. He said, quote, "Georgia has a great team, and the talent is there, and I'm going to stay home and play for the home state school. It is a great fit for me." He picked the Bulldogs over a group of programs that included Alabama, Florida, and Michigan, and he was just another big-time tight end to choose the Dawgs. Georgia's energy, winning tradition, and his multiple visits there ended up being able to move the pendulum for him, and that visit during the Arkansas game is what sold him. Kirby Smart and Georgia were on fire at the time with the recent development of Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington at the tight end spot, and Thomas was in line to be the next great one. He'd get a chance to win a lot of football games while doing it, and Georgia fans were pumped about Thomas. It seemed that Thomas was all penciled in to go to Georgia until this past year. He eventually visited Florida State for their junior day, and some were starting to wonder if he could flip. Recently, he made unofficial visits to Florida State in each of his last 2 weekends, and there was a good chance he was going to flip. His junior season, Thomas was absolutely insane, as he had 44 catches for 753 yards and 8 touchdowns. Just a couple of days ago, he decided to flip to Florida State. He said, quote, "My relationship grew way stronger with the coaches, and FSU is trending up in the right direction, and I feel like I belong down there. It's a place where I feel comfortable, and in the locker room, they have a tight brotherhood." As time went on, a couple weeks went by, and I started feeling Florida State more and more. I got on campus a couple more times, and after the first time I came back in January, I knew this was the spot for me and a place I'd want to be at. So I started coming back on campus, and I just needed to make sure I'm making the right decision. This was a huge deal for Florida State fans, and Mike Norvell has great plans for Thomas. He said, quote, "They plan to use me all around, just to get me the ball any way they can, and then block when they need me to." With the addition of Thomas, Florida State now has the #1 running back and the #1 tight end in the 2024 class. They also have 4 4-star wide receivers and a 4-star quarterback by the name of Luke Cromenhoek. The Seminoles are doing a tremendous job recruiting, and they are now signing some of the better skill players in high school football. Last year, we saw this pay off with Hakeem Williams, who was a 5-star recruit and the #4 receiver in the class of 2023. And they've also brought in 2 tight ends who could have a humongous impact this year. One of them is a player by the name of Kyle Morlock, who was a 2-time All-American at Shorter University. At 6'7", could be that weapon that the Seminoles have been missing. They also brought in Jaheim Bell from South Carolina, and in case you don't remember who he was a projected first-round pick for the 2022 NFL Draft, but seemingly didn't get along with the South Carolina coaching staff, so he decided to transfer. He has all the physical attributes to absolutely dominate the football field, and with those 2 guys alone, Florida State looks to be in a great spot, and adding Thomas next year only makes things better. One 24/7 Sports article I read talked about how big of a deal this is, and they said the craziest part about all of this is that he was still committed when he was at Florida State spring game and chose to go there instead of Georgia. According to 24/7 Sports, Thomas is a 5-star recruit, the #1 tight end, and the 24th best player in the class of 2024. What does this mean for Florida State? Mike Norvell went into Kirby Smart's backyard and got a 5-star recruit. And what's even crazier is the fact that Georgia is coming off back-to-back national championships, and they've had a tight end selected in 6 straight drafts. One 24/7 sports writer said, quote, "At the risk of being a prisoner of the moment, I feel like this is the biggest recruiting win to date for the staff." He also went on to say that keeping Thomas is probably going to be a challenge, as he assumes that Georgia will fight back and try to get him to flip once again, and Kirby might even start recruiting other Florida State targets. For now though, this is a huge commitment for the Florida State program, and they have a ridiculous amount of hype for 2023. With returning quarterback Jordan Travis and superstar defensive end Jared Verse, the Seminoles have really good pieces at some of the most important positions, and this could be the year that Norvell has them competing for the college football playoff in some people's eyes. While I personally won't go that far, I think Florida State could have a huge season, and I'm excited for the future and what Norvell has built there. But what do you guys think? If you're a Georgia or Florida State fan, what do you think of Landen Thomas? What are your expectations for Florida State this year? And what player, team, topic, or situation can I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.